Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Spry English. In our At the Doctor episode, Kevin wasn't feeling well. He had a headache and a sore throat, and I became his doctor. Then we changed roles. I had a stomach ache, and Dr. Kevin was ready to help. And of course, Sunny and Lily had their own adventure at the animal doctor. But now, it's time to go deeper. In this deep dive explanation, Lucy and Mark will help you understand the most important vocabulary, pronunciation, listening, and useful expressions from the episode. So let me introduce your deep dive hosts, Lucy and Mark. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to Spry English, like this video, and tell us in the comments what new English phrase did you learn today. Now, let's dive deeper into English. Lucy and Mark, over to you.
Usually when we talk about getting a medical diagnosis, there is this really heavy expectation of precision. It feels almost like engineering.
Right. Yeah. Like it should just be black and white.
Exactly. You break your arm, the x-ray shows that jagged white line, the doctor points to the screen, and boom, there it is, problem identified.
It is entirely binary. I mean, it's either broken or it's not. And I think that's comforting because we fundamentally like our problems to be, visible and easily categorized.
But then you step into the world of actually explaining how you feel, and suddenly that x-ray machine is, well, it's totally useless.
Yeah.
Completely useless.
We find ourselves looking at this diagnostic landscape that is just incredibly murky. When you are sitting there on the crinkly paper of the exam table, trying to explain a dull ache or, a weird sense of fatigue to a doctor, you are forced to translate a very complex, messy internal experience into words.
And that's hard.
It is. You are trying to build a bridge between your subjective reality and their objective science, which requires a massive amount of vulnerability. But more importantly, it requires a shared vocabulary.
Right.
Because if you don't have the words to describe the nuance of the pain, the diagnostic process just stalls out before it even begins.
And that shared vocabulary, like how we build it from the ground up, is what we are exploring with you today.
It's a really great topic.
Yeah, we have a fascinating piece of source material to unpack for this deep dive. It's a transcript from a foundational English language channel called Spry English. Specifically, it's a video designed for A1 and A2 learners, so absolute beginners, and it's titled At the Doctor, Simple English for Real Life.
And at first glance, you might assume this is just a standard vocabulary drop.
Yeah, like a list of body parts.
Exactly. A list of symptoms to memorize. But the curriculum design here is actually incredibly sophisticated.
It really is. And I want to set the mission for this deep dive right away. We aren't just doing a language lesson here.
Right. No.
We are taking this source material and looking at how human beings absorb information and how foundational human experiences, specifically the universal vulnerability of being sick, are distilled down into their most elemental components.
Fascinating.
We're going to look at how this module uses narrative, cognitive psychology, and character role play to teach people how to ask for help.
Because the mechanism they use to achieve this is, well, it's a narrative role play approach.
Yeah.
Instead of just handing the learner a flashcard that says headache, they introduce characters.
Kevin and Emmy.
Right, Kevin and Emmy. The module seamlessly blends vocabulary building with storytelling, which fundamentally changes how the brain processes the information.
I noticed they start the story in the waiting room.
Yes.
Like before anyone even sees a doctor, Kevin and Emmy are just sitting there talking to each other about being sick.
Which is such a specific choice.
Yeah. Kevin says he feels sick. He has a headache, a sore throat, and a little fever. And then Emmy responds that she has a stomach ache and she feels tired. It feels like they are deliberately lowering the stakes before actually facing the medical authority.
That is a very deliberate pedagogical choice. Yeah. In the realm of cognitive psychology and language acquisition, there is this concept known as the affective filter hypothesis.
Okay, the affective filter. Break that down for us. What is that?
Think of the affective filter as an emotional brick wall.
Okay.
And this wall goes up when a learner feels anxious or stressed or intimidated. When that wall is up, the brain physically struggles to absorb new language inputs.
Wow. Okay, so anxiety literally blocks learning.
Exactly. And a doctor's office is naturally an intimidating environment. There's a built-in power dynamic.
Oh, for sure. You're already feeling bad, and now you have to talk to an expert.
Right. So if the lesson started with the doctor just firing questions at the learner, the affective filter would spike immediately.
Because it's too much pressure.
Exactly. By starting in the waiting room with this peer-to-peer commiseration, the lesson empowers the speaker to articulate their vulnerability in a low-stakes environment.
Because Emmy isn't judging Kevin's sore throat.
Exactly. She's just listening.
It reminds me of like a complaint chorus. You see this in real life all the time.
Oh, yeah, constantly.
Like you are at the office, someone mentions their allergies are acting up, and immediately 3 other people chime in with their own minor ailments.
Right. It's a bonding mechanism.
Yeah, it totally is.
We use shared physical discomfort to build rapport. When Kevin says, "I feel sick," those simple phrases become tools.
Yeah.
They give the learner the power to claim their physical state without the pressure of a formal diagnosis.
Right. You're just sharing.
The waiting room scene establishes a baseline of discomfort. It teaches the learner that it is totally acceptable to vocalize that you are not operating at 100%.
Using language that is completely stripped of all that intimidating medical jargon.
Exactly.
But, once that affective filter is lowered, the characters still do have to face the authority figure.
They do eventually have to go in, yes.
And that is where the curriculum design splits in a really interesting way. We move into the examination room, and we see 2 entirely different approaches to cause, effect, and cure.
Yeah, the module uses Kevin and Emmy to demonstrate 2 distinct architectural structures of language.
Let's look at Kevin's visit first, because that one seemed pretty standard.
It is.
The doctor steps in, and Kevin repeats his symptoms. He says, headache, sore throat, feels sick. The doctor performs a standard physical check, asking him to open his mouth and say, then checks his temperature, confirming the fever.
Right, the verification.
And the prescription is super straightforward. Drink warm tea, take this medicine, and rest at home. And then he finishes with the classic, get well soon. It is a closed loop.
Problem, physical verification, passive solution.
Passive, yeah, exactly.
Kevin's vocabulary here is entirely passive.
Yeah.
The fever happened to him.
Right.
He is the victim of a virus.
Yeah.
And the solution requires him to simply rest and let the medicine do the work.
Just lie there and get better. But then we get to Emmy's visit, and the narrative just completely shifts gears.
It really does.
Emmy says she has a stomach ache. The doctor doesn't ask her to open her mouth. The doctor asks a diagnostic question. He says, what did you eat?
A crucial difference.
And Emmy confesses. She says, I ate fast food and ice cream.
Yeah, she tells on herself.
The doctor's prescription is behavioral. Eat healthy food, no junk food for a few days, take medicine, and drink water. Now, wait, I have to push back on this choice by the creators a little bit.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I can see how junk food causes a stomachache, but why introduce that complexity at an A1 beginner level?
It's a fair question.
Because if the goal is just to teach someone how to survive a doctor's visit in a foreign language, making them explain that they ate too much ice cream feels almost, I don't know, punitive.
It feels like extra work.
Yeah. Why not just teach them to say, my stomach hurts, and get the medicine? Why complicate it with behavioral choices?
I get that. It seems counterintuitive to add that complexity, but it actually creates a much stronger cognitive hook for the learner.
Okay, how so?
Well, if you only teach passive symptoms, the learner's vocabulary remains entirely descriptive.
Like just pointing at a problem?
Exactly. They can only tell you what is happening right now. But by introducing Emmy's dietary choices, the module forces the learner to grasp cause and effect language.
Action and consequence.
Precisely. I ate fast food in the past, therefore I have a stomachache in the present.
Oh, wow.
It requires the learner to link a past action to a present physical state. And from a neurological standpoint, our brains are just desperate for causality.
We want to know why things happen.
We do. We remember things better when there is a logical chain of events. And furthermore, it introduces contrasting vocabulary, which is essential for early language development.
Like the juxtaposition of fast food versus healthy food.
Yes. By showing 2 distinct types of doctor visits.
One requiring a passive cure, like rest.
Right. And one requiring an active behavioral change, like eating better. The curriculum equips the listener with a broader structural toolkit.
So you aren't just memorizing the word for stomachache.
No, you are learning the language of personal agency and consequence.
It is teaching the framework of how to explain circumstances, not just symptoms.
Exactly.
Like, take this medicine applies to both Kevin and Emmy, but no junk food is highly specific to the context Emmy created for herself.
Right. It's tailored to her specific narrative.
Okay, so we've established how to communicate our own passive ailments and even our own behavioral mistakes. But the module introduces a completely different cognitive hurdle next, which is what happens when the patient doesn't speak English, or in this case, doesn't speak at all.
This is one of my favorite parts.
Let's look at how the language shifts when Kevin and Emmy have to advocate for their pets.
The transition to the animal doctor scene is just a brilliant piece of instructional scaffolding.
It really is. Kevin brings in Sunny the dog, and Emmy brings in Lily the kitten. Kevin tells the vet that Sunny is not eating and is not active today. The vet checks the dog and says it's a small problem, nothing serious, and prescribes medicine and fresh water. Then Emmy presents Lily the kitten, saying she is very quiet today and looks tired.
And again, very simple observation.
Yeah, and the vet prescribes rest and reassures them both by saying they will be okay and they are strong.
Yes.
This immediately made me think of a parent in a pediatrician's office advocating for a toddler.
It's the exact same dynamic.
Think about how the vocabulary subtly shifts here for you, the learner. You aren't saying, I feel sick anymore. You can't ask the dog where it hurts.
Right. You can't just ask them.
You have to move from the subjective, I feel, to the objective observation of they are.
You have to act as the interpreter for someone else's physical state.
Exactly. You are saying he's not active or she is very quiet. But I guess my question is, why change the setting entirely to teach this? Why not just have Kevin talk about his sick roommate?
Well, because introducing the animals lowers that affective filter again.
Oh, because pets are comforting.
Exactly. And while doing that, it forces the brain to recycle vocabulary in a totally fresh context.
Right.
We see the concepts of rest, medicine, and water return. If the module just repeated Kevin's doctor visit a third time, but with a roommate, the learner's brain would just glaze over.
Because it's too repetitive.
It becomes rote memorization. By changing the subject to a dog and a kitten, the brain actually has to wake up, reprocess those words, and apply them to third parties.
It is spaced repetition disguised as a plot twist.
It really is. It's so smart. And beyond just the mechanics of the vocabulary, this scene teaches the language of caregiving.
Which is huge.
It is. When the vet says nothing serious or they are strong, the module is modeling how to offer empathy and reassurance.
Empathy in action.
Right. Communication isn't just about demanding solutions for your own needs.
Yeah.
A huge part of functioning in any society is navigating the needs of those you care for and comforting people who are anxious.
That's a really good point.
Knowing how to ask for help is vital, but knowing how to say it is nothing serious to a worried pet owner or worried parent is equally fundamental to the human experience.
They are strong. It's just a beautifully simple sentence, but in the context of a worried caretaker, it carries immense emotional weight.
It really does.
It proves that you don't need a complex, advanced vocabulary to deliver profound comfort.
Exactly. Sometimes simpler is better.
So having gathered all this foundational vocabulary across humans and animals, across subjective feelings and objective observations, the Spry English source material decides it is time to prove what we have learned.
Ah, yes.
We move into the assessment phase.
The dreaded pop quiz.
They call it a mini review and a mini quiz, and the review segment is what you would expect. It drills the exact phrases like a highlight reel. You know, I feel sick, I have a headache, I have a stomachache, take medicine, drink water, get well soon.
Right, going back over the core concepts.
But the multiple choice quiz is structured in a very specific way. The narrator addresses the audience directly, saying, "Dear friends, I know you are ready too." And here are the questions they ask. Question 1, what does Kevin have? A headache. B, a toothache. C, a backache.
Okay.
The video builds in a few seconds of thinking time and reveals the answer is A, a headache.
Right.
Question 2, what is Emmy's problem? The answer is B, a stomachache. Question 3, what should Kevin do? Answer B, drink tea and rest. Question 4, where are Sunny and Lily? Answer C, at the animal doctor.
It's all about the story.
Yes, look at the framing of those questions. It doesn't test if you know the translation for the isolated word headache.
No, it doesn't.
It tests if you remember that Kevin, the specific character, had the headache.
Right.
Why test the plot of a grammar video? Why not just hold up an animation of a guy holding his head and ask the viewer to select the correct noun?
This brings us to a really crucial distinction in how human memory operates.
Okay.
When you test a learner by holding up an isolated picture and asking for a word, you are testing their semantic memory.
Semantic memory.
Yes. Think of semantic memory like a dictionary sitting on a shelf in your brain.
Okay, I can picture that.
It is a repository of raw data, facts, and isolated words. It is useful, but it is notoriously difficult to build and easy to lose.
Yeah.
If you just cram a dictionary, the words tend to float away because they aren't tethered to anything meaningful.
Right, like cramming for a high school Spanish test and then just forgetting it all 3 days later.
Exactly. We've all been there.
Oh, absolutely.
What the Spry English quiz is doing by asking, "What does Kevin have?" is forcing the learner to engage their episodic memory.
So if semantic memory is the dictionary, what is episodic memory?
Episodic memory is a movie scene.
A movie scene.
Yeah, it is the brain's ability to recall specific events, stories, and experiences. The brain doesn't just store the word headache in a vacuum.
Okay.
It stores the lighting in the waiting room, Kevin's tone of voice, the doctor's reaction, the sequence of events.
Oh, wow.
It anchors the vocabulary to a lived experience.
Even if it is a fictional lived experience in a YouTube video.
Exactly. Our brains are biologically wired for narrative.
That makes a lot of sense.
For thousands of years, we evolved by telling stories around campfires, passing down crucial survival information through characters and plots.
Right.
We did not evolve to memorize flashcards. So by testing narrative recall, the module forces you to reconstruct the scene in your mind's eye.
You picture Kevin in the waiting room. You remember the doctor telling him to drink warm tea.
Yes. By recalling Kevin's specific journey, you contextualize the vocabulary.
You're not just recalling a word, you're recalling a moment.
You cement it into a web of associations. If I ask you the word for a stomach issue, and you remember Emmy confessing to eating too much ice cream, the phrase stomach ache is anchored to that entire narrative arc.
Yeah.
It makes the information significantly stickier and much harder to forget.
That makes total sense. The quiz isn't merely checking if you know English vocabulary.
No.
It's checking if you were paying attention to the human experience playing out in front of you.
Precisely.
Wow. Let's bring all of these threads together because we've covered a lot.
We really have.
We have taken a deep dive into what appeared to be a very simple A1, A2 language video and discovered a highly engineered curriculum.
Yeah, there's so much going on under the hood.
We started in a share waiting room, analyzing how the complaint chorus lowers the affective filter, allowing learners to claim their vulnerability without anxiety.
And from there, we explored the exam room, contrasting passive medical treatment with active behavioral changes.
Which was so fascinating.
Right, because that shift introduced causality. It taught the brain to link past actions to present consequences, creating a much stronger cognitive map than merely describing symptoms.
Then we analyzed the pivot to the animal doctor, which was this brilliant exercise in cognitive flexibility. It forced the learner to shift from subjective feelings to objective observation, learning the language of caregiving and advocacy while simultaneously recycling core vocabulary through spaced repetition.
And finally, we look at how testing that knowledge through a character-driven quiz, remembering Kevin's specific headache or Emmy's junk food binge,
Right.
it forces the brain to rely on episodic memory rather than semantic memory.
It leverages our evolutionary bias for storytelling to make the vocabulary permanent.
Exactly. It's incredibly smart.
It is a wildly efficient system for building a robust, practical medical vocabulary. And if there is one overarching takeaway for you from this analysis, whether you are actively learning a new language or just trying to refine how you communicate in your daily corporate life.
Yeah, it applies everywhere.
It does. It's this. Starting with clear, simple cause and effect narratives is arguably the most effective way to share information.
I completely agree.
We constantly overcomplicate things to sound smart.
Oh, we love to do that.
We use jargon to build walls. But true clarity is almost always found in the fundamentals: action, consequence, symptom, solution.
It really makes you reconsider how you structure your own arguments or how you explain problems in a meeting.
Definitely.
If you want people to remember what you said, don't give them a dictionary. Give them a movie scene. Put the problem into a narrative they can actually picture.
Which brings me to a final thought I want to leave you with today.
Okay.
Think back to what we discussed at the very beginning of this deep dive, that heavy expectation of medical precision, the desire for the clean, jagged line on the X-ray.
Right.
In our native languages, we often hide behind complex terminology because it feels safe.
It
It
does.
feels scientific and detached and professional. But when we strip our language down to its most basic, elemental components, like the phrases taught in this spry English video.
I feel sick.
Exactly. I feel sick. I need rest. Get well soon. We aren't just communicating physical data. We are, at our core, asking for empathy.
That's very true.
We are looking someone in the eye and saying, I am human, I am fragile, and I need help.
Wow.
How might returning to simple English, to the raw, unfiltered honesty of I feel tired or what is wrong, help us communicate more clearly and more humanely, even in our most complex, high-stakes daily interactions? What layers of jargon could you strip away today to just tell someone exactly where it hurts?
Is a profound question to consider the next time you find yourself struggling to translate your internal reality for someone else.
It really is. Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We will catch you on the next one.